right again, but that's okay. Anyway, so all kidding aside, let me start by trying to establish my IT and social media credentials. I am the proud owner of a new iPad. It's amazing. I told Steve Jobs the other day, if he can improve on this, it'll really be amazing. Every time I play with it, I discover something new. And so before this morning's conference, I also updated my Facebook page, sent a tweet, browsed my Dig feed, and checked in at Foursquare. And I even posted a personal on Craigslist. I did. I wanted Cleveland basketball star to say basketball on the Big Apple. Whether LeBron's reading it or not, I don't know. Anyways, I hope he makes the right choice and comes to our city, because I think the TechCrunch really did make the right choice by bringing its conference here. Yes, thank you. Now, because in media, advertising, and information technology, I really do think that New York is number one. We already have more information and media jobs in New York City, 315,000 and counting, than any other metropolitan area in the nation. And during the first quarter of this year, venture capital funding in New York increased by 19%, even as it went down in Silicon Valley and in the rest of the nation. That's true. This is where it's happening. And I've said this 1,000 times. My company never could have been anywhere as successful if I had started it anyplace else. The value proposition here is a great place for people where intellectual capital is important. If you want to compete in the big pond, if you want to have a breadth of cultural opportunities and be able to interface with others of the best and the brightest, this is the place to come. And I'm going to tell you for a few seconds about how we plan to increase our market share in this fast-paced, high-tech world. 20 months ago, when Wall Street went into a tailspin, City Hall went into overdrive. Now, we know talent is the city's #1 asset. And the people losing jobs at financial sector firms were people we knew we had to keep in our city. Nearly 30 years ago, I was in that boat too. When I was fired from my job on Wall Street, I had a harebrained notion about making financial services information available on desktop computers. And the truth of the matter is, when I started the business, PCs did not exist. And for most of you who aren't old enough to remember, the internet did not exist when I started Bloomberg. We went and built our own hardware. I used to go on Saturdays up to Connecticut to the barn that our engineer worked in, and I would solder resistors and capacitors into circuit boards, and that's what we put on people's desks, and we would rent telephone lines and buy muxes and created our own internet. But then as PCs were developed, I felt we could not compete in that world, and so we switched our product to running on PCs, and when the internet came in, it helped us get out of the telecommunications business as well. So we are a technology company, but we've changed as the world has changed. And I think that's one of the keys to success. Too many companies just stay with the same old thing and are trying to stop the waves from coming in. But you have to sit there and recognize, as things change, what opportunities you have. Our idea worked out pretty well, and while I don't know who's going to create the next big thing in technology, we do know where Bloomberg LP or the next Twitter needs to be headquartered, and that is here. And so we've geared up our support for startups, especially in information technology. We've been working to eliminate or reduce the state's unincorporated business tax for 17,000 freelancers and contractors, and that one reform put up to $3,400 a year back in their pockets. With partners in academia and in the real estate community, our Economic Development Corporation, led by its president, Seth Pinsky, here, has also opened up 2 incubators for tech startups and social media freelancers. And we know that office space and equipment and the chance to rub shoulders with your colleagues are what people who launch startups need. So we created these incubators, and I will say they've been very successful. Tenants have already received more than $8 million in venture capital funding and counting. And so we're going to launch a media lab at a major university in our city later this year. And like the labs now at Stanford and MIT, it will foster IT research and collaboration. And we're continuing to help IT firms find out about opportunities to do business with our city agencies. New York City has a $64 billion budget annually. We have 300,000 employees. We have 8.4 million customers. And so we have a lot of business to give out. We want to make sure that people who can help us will know how to do that, and that will also help them. Now, today, President Obama is welcoming small business owners from across America to the White House. You're lucky to be here with me. Some of them are unlucky and had to go with the president, but hey, you know, it's just the way it is. He'll be urging Congress to authorize new lending programs and tax cuts to the small businesses that will generate the jobs that our nation needs. And the president really, all kidding aside, does understand that small businesses are the future of America. And here in New York, we know that these initiatives are vital for startups, and the faster Congress approves the president's proposals, which are right on the mark, the better. And that's why at the local level, in addition to the tax cuts I already mentioned, we also created a loan program for businesses that, despite their creditworthiness, were being shut out from sources of capital. And more than a year ago, we put $3 million city dollars into an early-stage investment fund for tech startups. It is the first fund of its kind created by any city outside of Silicon Valley. We originally hoped it would attract perhaps $9 or $10 million in private funding. But today, I'm pleased to make two announcements about that fund. First, thanks to a new partnership with the venture capital leader FirstMark Capital, who is co-investing up to $19 million private dollars with our NYC Entrepreneurial Fund, will now be able to invest up to $22 million. And that's significantly more than we ever thought possible, and proof, I think, that FirstMark shares our optimism about the future of New York City startups. And second, today we're announcing our first investment of $300,000 from that fund, and it's going to an exciting mobile application provider, My City Way. And if you haven't heard of them yet, you will. In fact, let me tell you a little bit about them right now. A year ago, our administration launched a competition we called NYC Big Apps, and we made data from more than 30 city agencies available to tech entrepreneurs, property tax records, the citywide tree census, Wi-Fi hotspots, where dog runs are located, you name it. And we threw it open to all of the city's tech world, and we set up a contest to see who could come up with ways to use that data creatively. Did they rise to the challenge? Did they ever? With more than 100 submissions. And My City Way put in one of them. It's called NYC Way. It puts everything New York right at your fingertips, and it's what native New Yorkers and visitors need. It's the lowdown on 4-star restaurants and also the best eats, information on theater tickets, art galleries, and hotels. And if you're from out of town and thinking about relocating here, which we definitely hope that you are, you can find jobs and real estate listings as well. Well, we like the way that NYC Way so much, we like what they did so much. We not only named them the Big Apps winner, most likely to be an investor's choice, we also chose to invest in them. And I'm delighted to tell you that it's enabled them to move to New York City from their former home in New Jersey, and also to add some new employees. Now, in a few minutes, My City Way team and Lawrence Lenahan from FirstMark will join me to describe that to the reporters. But before we leave, let me leave you with this. In New York City, we understand that innovation drives economic growth. From the days of the transatlantic telegraph cable right up to today,